Montana, or whoever is out there, right? And so then once they started to unpack that, then we started to talk about, the school to prison pipeline and how all of these things are plotted on this map that's pushing them towards being incarcerated, right? And so it wasn't, I never got into the real versus fake hip hop debate, but we did talk about the way in which that hip hop has been co-opted, right, by media interests, by capitalist media interests that allow certain things to be sold to specific populations with the intent to destroy, right? I think hip hop has been poisoned, right? But I think what happens is when I grew up, people who grew up in my time during the 70s and 80s, I can say we grew up on real hip hop. Like we had crappy hip hop back then as well. We had ignorant hip hop back then as well. But the thing that happened was we had more options. Like that was put out in the mainstream. So I can listen to Big Daddy Kane. I can listen to NWA. If I want to hear some booty shaking music, I can listen to Luke and Two Live Crew. If I wanted to do that, I can listen to Rex and Effect with Rump Shaker. I can then go and listen to X Clan. I can listen to Public Enemy. I can listen to Sister Soldier. I can go back, and listen to someone else. But there were different options. There were options there. And so right now, if you turn on the radio, it's going to be like the same 5 songs that are played all day. And the messages that are being sent through these songs are about getting high, selling or using drugs, degrading women, and partying, right? So there's no level of an activist orientation that exists within that music, right? I was listening to activist music on mainstream radio. When I was listening to BDP, Boogie Down Productions, that was on mainstream video shows and on the radio. When I was listening to Queen Latifah, I heard that on the radio. I didn't have to go digging for it, right? But now, you don't hear it, right? Because it's intentional, like for people to kind of go out there, for us try and kill and break down the psychic armor of the youth to get them to believe that what they see on the TV screen is who they are and who they need to aspire to be. So I think it's important for us not necessarily to demonize what we would consider garbage hip hop, but to train youth and give them the ability to critically produce their culture and to also critically consume what's being put forth to them, right? To give them that skill for them to be able to determine what their reality should be for themselves. I don't know if I answered your question at all.
What about also how to get that to be a voice that is heard more rather than what is popular now?
And that's the thing. Like when we talk about like hip hop, we talked about like hip hop is a form of self-determination, right? So we think about the environment that hip hop was born in. Like one of the things I was reading, I don't remember what it said. Like we talk about like the jobless rate, the ways in which the urban spaces were divested in. The larger society should be glad that hip hop was the result instead of total chaos and riot, right? So they should be glad that hip hop was the result. And so letting people know that hip hop was the voice of the people, and that voice had a responsibility. And so get students, huh?
How do you turn it to being the voice of the people?
Well, part of it, I think it's going to take events like this, and it's going to be grassroots, because the corporate and media entities do not care about it being the voice of the people. They have their idea of what they want the voice of the people to be, and that's what they're going to push, right? And so when you hear a lot of these conscious MCs and different things like that, and you'll have a few that gets allowed to be in the mainstream. Right now, if you think about who's in the mainstream that would be considered quote unquote conscious, I don't even like using that term, but so you have Kendrick Lamar, you have J. Cole, they're out there, they're saying some stuff that's kind of going against the grain, and they're actually selling units, right? Going platinum, right? So that shows you that people want to hear it. And I think people are going to get tired of hearing the same nonsense over and over, because I'm not sure how many different adjectives you can use to talk about drinking and taking pills, and how many different ways you can describe a big booty. Like after a while, it has to, it has to run out. But I think that the fact that J. Cole was able to be successful, the fact that Kendrick Lamar is able to be successful, the rapper Rhapsody, a lot of people are starting to talk about her Another album that just came out, Black Liberation Theology by Jasiri X, who's a hip hop activist, is being pushed. And so hopefully these people start to push and push and push and let this get to the mainstream. Because people say, well, this is the music that people want to hear. It's not that that's what the music that people want to hear as far as the music that's out there, is the fact that people make you think that you want to hear it, right? I don't want McDonald's French fries, but them joints are real crispy on the commercial, right? and you see it all the time, and it makes me think that I want McDonald's French fries, or when I'm driving by, how they got the fans blowing that crispy goodness and it's coming into my car, it makes me want to stop and get McDonald's fries, right? So they create the need and you think that you want it, right? So that's the same thing that happens within the music industry. That's what marketing is there for. And so I think it's going to be a grassroots level, the stuff that you're doing there, the stuff that Anthony is doing, with Save the Kids and different things like that. That's how we impact the youth through a grassroots movement, because it's going to be difficult to fully counteract what the media and the corporate entities are able to push forward.
Thank you. We got one more question. Time for one more question and then one more answer.
What would you want Native students and Hispanic students or Chicano students to know about Black Lives Matter? Like, how does it apply to them? What does it mean for them?
You said to Latinos?
Latinos and Native students.
Well, I mean, they did not identify, but when I think of Black Lives Matter, I think of them as well. Right? When we think of oppressed populations, that's what I think of as Black Lives Matter. Of course, we say Black Lives Matter because it seems like we have to be reminded that Black Lives Matter. But I think it's the same thing, right? So Native lives matter, right? When we talk about the plight of people in this country, I mean, we can focus on blacks, but we understand the plight that our Native brothers and sisters have faced on this country, and so I think that's part of it. And so part of the master plan is to get people to think that their causes are separate, right? If the causes of the Native brothers and sisters are the causes of Black Lives Matter, and in my opinion, I'm not sure if they would agree with it. For our Chicano brothers and sisters, Latino brothers and sisters, like I think all of our causes are actually connected, even with our Asian brothers. I mean, even with our white brothers and sisters. If we think historically, one of the ways in which we get to this position of whiteness is the fact that we know that poor whites and enslaved blacks used to connect because they saw what they had in common and they used to revolt against the system. Right? So if we think about Bacon's Rebellion and different things like that, how they revolt against the system. And so this is when we start to understand the system of whiteness and how these poor whites were then brought in and tricked into believing they were the same as these elite whites, right? And so you have whites who are fighting against their own good, right? So these people who are out there supporting Trump and everything like that, who see themselves as almost millionaires or just didn't make it yet, their cause is actually connected to that of the poor black, the poor Native, the poor Asian, the poor Chicano, and Latino, right? And so, but we're not allowed to see that, right? Because we're forced to think in racial terms and be divided by racial terms, right? And so once we start to see race, once we start to see gender and sexual orientation, once we start to see all of these intersectional identities and see the connections of them all, I think that's when we can move forward. But as long as we continue to see them as separate entities, that's where the problem lies. And so in the work that I do, Black lives, Latino lives, Chicano lives, Native lives, we're all together in the work that I can do.
Called Divide and Conquer.
Thank you, Don, and hope if you have any comments or contacts with Don, you can contact us, and we'll get you in contact with him. Thank you much. Have a wonderful evening, Don.
Thank you.
All right, are you all ready for our next speaker? Oh, I see you all leaving right now. All right, our next speaker is Shamell Bell. Shamell is from Los Angeles, California. She is a mother, a a community organizer, choreographer, and PhD student in culture and performance at UCLA's World Arts and Culture and Dance. She is a core organizer with the Black Lives Matter movement in Los Angeles, and Shamell's work on street dance activism situates dance as a grassroots political action from her perspective as a scholar, dancer, and choreographer for the Black Lives Matter movement. Shamell's street dance experience includes featured roles in music videos, award shows, and tours with artists such as Will Smith, Christina Aguilera, and Ludacris. And she's also in an acclaimed documentary, Rise. Here's Shamell.
Hello, everyone. So, a little bit of an intro. She's already gave, the biography. We all, the activists, kind of feel weird about listening to the biographies of yourself. So, who all came to my street dance activism workshop? Oh, is anybody from group 3 here who won the battle? Hey, I see you. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about my work, some of you have already experienced it, but I take all of my passions and all of my talents and I kind of interweave my positionality as, a dancer, a mom, and an activist, and a graduate student. So what I do is take them all at one time, and I present and I come and I talk to you all, but I also teach you all the street dance movements that will be able to pretty much, if you want to shut something down, why don't you shut it down with street dance activism? So I'm giving you tools that you can also movement build. So the examples, I don't know if who all are in here can remember what I kind of associated it with. I associated the street dance activism with how you can do team building and movement making. You can find a team lead, but it's group-centered leadership. So everybody puts a little bit in on the choreography. Everyone kind of works together. You come up with a team name, and that is to show you how, as an organizer, you can use tips and things that you have in your everyday life, everyday activities such as dance. So, everybody up. All right, if you were in the street dance activism workshop, can you come here on the stage with me? Don't act like you. All right, so they're gonna be I know there was more hands than that. Can I get, okay, come on. Come on, who else? Come on. All right, so they're going to be my assistant choreographer. So this is kind of what my pedagogy is as well. So they were in my street dance activism workshop, so I'm going to call them the community. All right, so that's kind of an analogy for what I do in the academy. I have folks that are really street dancers come and they tell their voice. And they tell their own stories and instead of us saying, we used to say the subaltern speak, right? We want to let the subaltern speak. So what we're doing is they're allowing community members to come in and teach us something about ourselves as well. Okay, so if you can start that.
Hey guys, so action word.
So you can just let it play. So I'm going to teach you all first how to jerk. We're all going to teach you how to jerk. So I have the music on. What you're going to do.
That's fine. Octane, why don't you come up here and teach the class? Why don't you tell us how it's done?
We're going to go 2 to the right. Chicken leg. So 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Arms up. 2. 1, 2. All right? That's what we're going to do. Alright, so that's the jerk, right? So the next move I'm going to teach you is the Dougie, right? Right? One step at a time. So you're gonna go pretend, I don't wanna do some writing at the same time. So just watch me. The steps are right, left, right, left, left, okay? Left, 2008, right, left, right, and then you dougie right, left, right, left. Where's that together? One. Up the dirt. 5, You guys did an excellent job. Thank you. Okay, so how much more time do you want me to do? Like 10 minutes? Okay. 15, that's perfect. Let me see. Do you mind if we do some radical dialogues? All right. Ooh, the elevation. You check. All right. You guys are not often equal though. Can I just have you split into two sides? So come over and get all together in this section. And then can you guys move? We're gonna do some movement building. Get together in another section. All right? So we can be a little bit closer. I usually try to, you can move up if you can. I just want all the sections in the middle. Yeah. It'll be easier for you to split into groups to talk to someone next to you, that's why. You can all be at least next to 4 people, 3 or 4 people, quickly, please. Okay, so in a group of 4 people, you're gonna ask them these questions. 1, what is your name? 2, what is your PGP? It's called a preferred gender pronoun. So some people may not look the gender that they ascribe to, right? So we ask, like, what is your preferred gender pronoun? I don't like to use a pronoun, I usually like to say sis, so like sister. So hey sis, how you doing? That's how we deal with that in the LGBTQ community and Black Lives Matter. So, another question you're gonna ask is, what is your talent? Well, you're gonna answer that one. And then another one you're gonna do is, in one sentence, if you can think of some bullet points of what your vision would be. So, the questions are, what's your name? What's your PGP? What is your talent? And what is your vision in like a sentence? So you're gonna get in groups of 4 and ask each other this. And I'll be coming down.
next question be, what is Black vision? What is yours? And what is that? Self-education. I think my vision. It's hard to like. Right. No, not exactly.
Take care of yourself, not the government. Take care.
Some of the talent that's more like these. It's not.
Yeah, I was like talking about light, diet, or anything, like
How's everyone doing with their radical dialogue? You need one more minute? One more minute.
Yeah, no, I love like definitely like the most.
Okay, can I have 3 volunteers to raise their hand? Just 3? Okay, perfect. So are you in one group back there? Are you on the same group, the 2 hands that, Nancy, did you raise your hand?
She raised my hand for me.
Come on, Nancy, I need you too. Okay, and then you back, and then in the front. And then can I have somebody from over here, anybody? Over here? Okay, come on. So all y'all come to the stage that I just called. You're not going to be dancing anymore. Yeah.
Oh, you got 3.
Okay, so we're teaching you group-centered leadership right now, right? We're also teaching you your visions. So, back in 2008, I wrote down my vision. It was, my vision is to viciously attack the detrimental practices and policies that disadvantage the poor and people of color. Right? So do you all think I'm doing that now? Woo! Back in 2008, I spoke that, right? I didn't even know, at that time I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And my professors were like, you're gonna be a scholar activist. I'm like, what's that? Right? So I'm a scholar activist now. So what I want to do is have each person just quickly talk about an overview of the visions that they've heard. So they're going to be the leader right now, but we just got all of the information from the group, right? So that's an example of group-centered leadership.
All right, I got a group tonight, and I know my personal vision of the world is, without elaborating, the exact opposite of what it is today. But in my group, I'm trying to remember, I believe that everyone kind of came to the consensus that we wanted to have a more equal world, a more tolerant world in terms of, I guess, what the minority and majority is going through today. So yeah, that's
What is your name?
I'm Imani. Hey.
our general consensus that we reached was for people to be able to have the opportunity to just be and to be free, and then it went on to extend beyond humans, so just all of life, you know, whether it's just all life. So thank you.
My name is Joe, and my group had a vision, it seems like, to contribute to the healing in the world and through a reconnection of personal roots and music.
Theo, what was yours? Because I was like, all of a sudden.
No, I would like to see the whole, like, everybody in the world come together and take care of themselves without the government.
Oh, right. Yeah, taking care of themselves without the government, and then empowering the oppressed, and then eventually freedom. Which I mean, today we had all these amazing workshops that took place. There were so many people turned out. It was wonderful. And one of them was in this flash mob for activism, which I realized I need to cut down. But it was back here. And they did this piece that was where one person was down and they said oppressed. And then another person came up and said judgment. And then the other said indifference. And then the person who did the indifference became oppressed. And then the next person became the judgment. And then the other person became indifference. And they just did this around 3 times. And then from out of that, they came into curiosity, tolerance, acceptance, and then out of acceptance came freedom. And so for me, freedom is always like the most important. It's like, that's my goal. It's because if we have acceptance to be who we are, whether it's trans or cis or whoever we happen to be, if there is acceptance, then we have freedom.
I usually do in my class, and I have you write all of it down, and then I have you speak it in a smaller group, and then I have one representative come and try to get an overview. But also in that overview, I ask you, how can you use your talent to make your vision happen? So can one person raise their hand and say how they can use their talent to make their vision happen? One person.
Get involved.
How can your talent directly, that you said, let's go back there and I'll come back to you.
For me, my talent would be creativity. So in that sense, I'm really great with music. So I would create something that would impact people, or at least spread the word of what I was saying in a creative, beautiful way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Did I have one more person? Okay.
My vision was that everybody would come to this school, every student would come to this school feeling like it was their school and it was here for them, 100% for them to win at school. And I use my talent as words, and so I use my words to tell students that that's what this school is for, and then I tell all the faculty and staff that that's what I'm telling students, so we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. So who can all raise your hand that you will, for the next, dedicate 21 days to using that talent as a way of living out your vision? Can everybody raise their hand for that? So if you're a dancer, start a dance group for justice, you know? All right, so I'm gonna wrap up, but I wanted to thank you all because I know I probably went over time. Anthony, did I go over? So you can have, Anthony. Are we? I went way over because I did groups and all of those stuff. Yeah. 5 more minutes? Okay, I get all the time. So do you all have any individual questions for me? Let's do that. I don't really like standing up here. When I talk without the mic, if I get down there, can you hear me? Yeah, I think I can. All right, so if you have any specific questions for me, I'll start answering.
Yeah, was there a moment that you can clearly identify when you made the link between your talent and dance, using that in social justice activism?
Yes, the moment was at USC when I've told this maybe 5 times. Some students in my class were doing a presentation on crump. In my bio, you heard that I did a little documentary on crump. Students didn't know that I was a dancer. In the class, they're doing their presentations and they're looking like, I don't see you. Is that you? And I'm like, ah, right? So that's the moment that my professor came to me and he said, you were in the crump movement? And I was like, yeah, you know, da, da, da. He was like, write about that. That's scholarly writing, that's history. You need to document it and trace the political implications that are in it. And so I started doing McNair research, I started doing Mellon Mays, I went to Yale and did a summer program. I brought jerkin to Yale. That's so funny. And there's a funny story with that because at that moment, I finished writing this 20-page paper and I was 4 to 6 months pregnant, right? So they thought I ruined my life. Like everyone was like, oh, you're pregnant in graduation? And I was just like, yeah. And they're like, but what about the Yale program that you're doing? And I'm just like, we gonna go. So, you know, I was pregnant at Yale, but I finished the paper and it took me a long time compared to other people. I was pregnant. I was about 7 months pregnant almost by the time I left. And I walk outside after finishing the paper and I see these boys trying to get money and they were jerking and I'm like, oh, they're jerking in New Haven, Connecticut at Yale. Who would have thunk, right? So I asked them, what are they doing? What are you doing? They're like, oh, we're jerking. And I'm like, well, what you trying to get money for? They're like, for some skinny jeans because my dad won't buy them for me. And I was just like, okay, cool. But I asked them the important question, that is, what are you doing? Like, where did you get this from? And even though it came from YouTube and they saw it in California, someone was jerking, they knew that it was anti-gang. They knew that it was because they didn't have other resources to do things. So they went and they formed dance crews, right? So at that moment, I realized like my work was important. At Yale, I'm like, I know the Rangers. They're like, whoa! The Rangers is the #1 jerking crew. So they could not believe that I actually did my senior honors thesis on them. So anyway, that's a long story of how I started to put my academic work with my passion, and then also Black Lives Matter really came out of having a son and crying over the Trayvon Martin fiasco when the verdict came down, and then I went outside and I started to protest, and then Justice for Trayvon Martin Los Angeles turned into Black Lives Matter. So yeah, I'm out of time.
Okay, so she just spoke about how we can use our talents to create our vision. So I guess a talent of mine, and this is not to toot my own horn, this is just to, I guess, create a dialogue and promote my event that is going to take place. I would say that a talent of mine is leadership. I have the ability to have a loud voice and thus project myself to people. And my vision would be for freedom of opportunity. And so what I've tried to do as a student is provide as many opportunities as I can. So what I have going on both tomorrow and on Wednesday, something called Social Justice Week, which I referred to earlier. What Social Justice Week is both a forum and programming that can, I guess, promote and advance social justice issues that maybe aren't as relevant to our community, but that maybe should be. We live in a very isolated place that is not as exposed to the things that you might see in a city, or you might see where the news is constantly on, or we're constantly connected and having to interact with each other on a daily basis. So what I've done, tomorrow there are going to be 2 different workshops, one starting at 4:30. So you guys saw Kino earlier today. He's going to be running that workshop. It's called Writing on Police Brutality. He's going to be doing poetry and writing work with you guys. and explaining some projects that he's done and bringing those projects to campus. So those projects he referred to that he's done in the school districts and that he's done through different theater programs. So that's what we'll see tomorrow, and that's an hour-and-a-half workshop. After that, from 6:30 to 8, there's going to be a workshop on social activism through street art. So an artist who was doing the silk screening today, the screen printing, will be running that tomorrow. And he'll be showing how you can make your art into something that you can put out on the streets and get more attention for. And then the next day, on Wednesday, it's going to be the Poor People's Campaign 2.0. Unluckily, Daphne is not going to be able to make it, but I'm going to be running it with some other very big figures in the community. And we're going to be teaching how we can bring Martin Luther King's goals of speaking up for the rights of the poor people, how we can bring that campaign and how we can plug into our own community, how we can provide our talents to create a vision and make that vision come true. And so that will be held from 5:30 to 6:30 on Wednesday, and that's all going to be here in the ballroom to make it easy. Until then, we have one last artist who's going to be doing a hip-hop performance and a little background on different things that she's done. I'll give you the little snapshot introduction, not introduction. There we go. I've already slurred. Okay. So, the Lioness from Minneapolis is one of hip-hop's up-and-coming conscious political artists. She has performed all around the U.S., having shared the stage with artists like Atmosphere, Brother Ali, and Toki Wright. Her partnership with Red Bull Big Tune Beat Battle champions Nicodemus and Gmo would produce most of the material for her 2012 mixtape, Lost Tapes, which was released to critical success. Continuing to focus on community, she lent her recording and performance talents to Occupy Homes, Occupy Wall Street, and the Minnesota Voter ID Amendment causes, Save the Kids, and most recently being part of the blockading of the 4th Precinct Police Station in Minneapolis for 2 weeks. Ambitious as ever, she turned to work simultaneously on her 3rd mixtape entitled Queen, and a collaboration with Titan Administration Records artists on the full-length album The Cabinet, both released in 2013. So I'm sure we're going to hear different songs from all of those mixtapes, and we have the Lioness coming on stage in just a sec. Can I hear how we're feeling tonight? I want to hear some energy because we're about to hear a hip-hop artist. It's about to end. I know our students have concerns in the back of our heads, but for now, let's take those off, get that off our shoulders, and relax and enjoy the performance that we're about to see. Does anyone have any knock-knock jokes they want to come up and give on stage? Apparently I'm supposed to delay. I don't know very many. Anyone? Okay, Gracie's going to come up and give a knock-knock joke. Any other time fillers that people have in mind are welcome to come up on stage.
Okay, it's just a joke. What do you call a pile of kittens?
A meow.
A meowton. That's all I got, I'm sorry.
If only we could pull up some great cat videos from Facebook. Those are pretty great. I know I end up watching probably at least 10 a day. Actually, 20% of the things looked up online are videos of cats, if you can believe it. So people are really obsessed with cats. Are we ready? All right. Let's welcome the Lioness. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you all so much for having me for Lewis College. I appreciate you, Anthony. I appreciate you, Anna. Thank you. So I'm going to talk briefly about a few things, and I'm going to share a spoken word that I wrote on the plane this morning. So Kino talked about it just briefly about the different things that are going on in Minneapolis and the Black Lives Matter movement. So November 15th, a young man was killed by the police, and there were several witnesses and all their stories of mine that he was in handcuffs and he was shot execution style by the police. So the Black Lives Matter of Minneapolis took over the 4th precinct. I had the honor and the privilege to go there several nights and speak and perform, and it was just a dope experience to be able to engage with the community and eat and laugh and dance and cry, and it was just a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful for that. So they shut down the police precinct for almost 3 weeks, and they shut down 94 East and West. They shut down the Mall of America. They shut down the airport because we deserve answers. We need answers still today. It's been 2 months and they haven't released any of the tapes from the shooting. There was a bar or restaurant that actually captured it, but they were taking people's cell phones, and so it's ugly. We see it. You know, it's like the new norm. Every time we go on Facebook, we see these videos and, you know, police brutality and just a lot of hate and a lot of racism. And I try not to engage too much and give that my energy, but it is noticeable and it does hurt. So I'm just gonna get into a small piece that I wrote, and forgive me if it's choppy because I just wrote it. You can't tell me that racism doesn't exist. It never left. Cuff our wrists. Kill them if they resist. You're really chosen, but I don't want you to know this. Our house is not a home, so even with shelter, we're homeless. Tear us apart. Break our spirits. Break our hearts. We've learned what you taught us. We go where you brought us, America. They kill us because they're scared of us, they fear us for our aggressiveness, but stripped us from our heritage, dismantle, beat us, treat us like animals, leave us to fend for ourselves. Dog eat dog world. It's either kill or be killed, for real. It's kids in the room, so I'm going to edit that. We still, our hands are, no handouts over here. Light candles at our vigils, lazy, dumb criminals. But this is all biblical, Deuteronomy 28. Is this what Dr. King dreamed of? I wonder what he'd think if he's seen us now. Our men have lost their crowns, our women devalued. Different tactics, same results. Extract the father, then attack his offspring. We're losing ourselves, our identity, the enemies, investing in penitentiaries, the music industry targets the black community, specifically, lyrically piercing our subconscious deliberately. Distract us intentionally. This is what I have to combat with. These niggas can't hold me back. I'll move weight and I'll sow crack. Kill your brothers. We're abusing ourselves, the bully misusing their wells. What are we doing? What are we proving? Why are we looting? Unruly, but I can still see the beauty. Let's get it. Can you crank it up a little louder, please? Turn the master up. Please turn the track up for me. So this is very fitting. This song is called Dreamer. We honor MLK, we honor Dr. Martin Luther King today. There we go, sorry, I'm cranking. Listen. I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream. I don't just dream, I don't just dream. When I'm sleeping, when I'm sleeping, when I'm sleeping, when I'm sleeping, sleep with me. Okay, but say I need to somebody who can dream. Cause I gotta be dream. I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream. I don't just dream, I don't just dream. When I'm sleeping, when I'm sleeping, don't raise the energy with me. Say I need to somebody who can dream. Cause I gotta be dream. No, I do give a love it down to the money, gotta take care of me. she came with the bed. Looking at my finances like all damn expenses. Threw the roof out of my hands, I grasped it on my knees and I asked me to fulfill these dreams. Now I had to let shit be first and vice versa. If dreams don't come true, they're worthless. I'm carrying a seed and I can't worth it. Don't get discouraged, keep working. I'm a dream, I'm a dream. I don't just dream, I don't just dream. When I'm asleep, when I'm asleep, what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing. I just came to say, somebody prepare, cause I gotta be dream. I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream. You're a dream, I don't just dream, I don't just dream. When I'm asleep, when I'm asleep, what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing. I just came to say, somebody prepare, cause I gotta be dreaming. One day, one day, one day, one day, my dreams will come true if I have faith, have faith, have faith, have faith, have faith, have faith, have faith. Don't ever come to a sleep when they're dripping up with days and slay and wake up. I think it's an outreach. I want to scream this anything they sleep on me. Mama see somewhere in between fantasy and reality. So much anxiety I can't. It promise me I can't live. There's no thing that I can't make. You're just something I can be. No opponent that I can't make. There's no test I can't complete. Nothing like handle I ever believe. I will find my heart's desire simply because I sleep. Going in circles and I got the purpose. God just put me on this earth. You know it will also be worth it. I'm so close I get nervous. It's so tough so I don't step against it. The definition is blurry. I won't get it cause I deserve it. I'm a dream, I'm a dream. I don't just dream, I don't just dream. When I'm asleep, when I'm asleep, what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing. I just came to say that somebody prepare, cause I gotta be dream. I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream, I'm a dream. I don't just dream, I don't just dream. When I'm asleep, when I'm asleep, what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing. I just came to say that somebody prepare, cause I gotta be dreaming. Gotta be dreaming, somebody be dreaming, gotta be dreaming. Thank you. Thank you. Sawyer. For my people in the freedom time, all my people got a freedom mind. For my people in the freedom time, for my people in the freedom time, all my people got a freedom time. For my people in the freedom time, for my people in the freedom time, for my people in the freedom time, all my people got a freedom mind. All my people got a freedom mind. For my people in the freedom time, for my people in the freedom time, all my people got a freedom mind. All my people got a freedom mind. It's evident we're now in this settlement. Our black man's rolling down like a 100 bridge. Ever since we landed in the wrong, we were not expecting. The space of center, children planning unexpected. That's why we said that I never should. I've been through what I was supposed to have. Still there, still there. You'll be police, you'll be writers, we'll bust the session. Once I have finished, I have finished, I have finished. Breathing up to the man, I'm off the road like Exodus. Treated like excrement, just that I was like this was no accident. Goes back to Africa. Been my innocence before he on the ship. Stripped of my innocence. They bring the back to whips. So only the losers and shooters when I saw the borders. So only the losers and abusers when I saw the beauty. So only the losers pollution and recklessly loose. And why the problems don't help us solve no solution. We bleed the same, always be the same. We step in the land and I'm free, but the home of the slaves. They burn them down so they come with the shade. You ain't broke the laws, you ain't better than me. All of this hate because of our race. Brothers and sisters, we're looking at the days. Arms, legs, face, check and repeat. It's freedom time now, nothing to lose without shame. It's freedom time. For my people, it is freedom time. Let me introduce myself. My name is The Lioness. You can check me out at www.thelionessmusic.com. We can keep going. I gave Anthony some CDs just to hand out. Feel free to grab one. Feel free to rock with me. Like the queen of the jungle, here. Listen. My brain is my weapon. The content I'm filling with this. My ammunition to get. You want to listen because I have a vision for us. So much that isn't discussed. Like the way we live, how we eat is disgusting. You beat your kids and you cheat on your husband. Wondering where has the love from? Wasn't meant to begin with, now what's it? And I was enough, you're all on the budget. I guess these ones out here love it. You so behind the closed doors, or you fight with the public. They don't know the real you. If they didn't kill you, you swear you a killer. Except on a cat, I better. Boy, you saw this as slipper. Surprise the world was to get you. You scared, go to church and put your head in the scriptures. I pray and deliver from this phony experience. Bring yourself, be yourself. When you look in that mirror, yes, pacifying the truth, what speak the lies. What's the difference? They don't even appreciate their lives. They won't ever have anything cause they don't try. Just whether you pacifying the truth or speak the lies. That's what they wanna have. Sweet nothings in the air. Don't believe in anything, won't stand up and don't defend. They rather live in fear. Stay in strong and shoot this light. Walk in it, don't pretend. Take that power all day. I'm gonna waste my time. It's what I'm rolling, never finish line. I'm in and out, I'm in and out. One order, I gotta pick a side. Better get this way, I'm in a lot. When I'm in myself, so much. I smoke my way, can't see the side. Look in my eyes, still tell me that. Keep bringing the truth, I'm one of you. I'ma lose my soul, trying to follow suit. Been going on wrong, man, going anyway. Captivated, held captive, so sweat. Now choose the day, yeah. Huh, go myself doing this every day. The blind, it won't never change. Time after time, different day. Speaking of change, just keeps going on and on and now it's a whole but it's like, come on back. Please, don't tell me you're still on that. The same thing's going on at the fourth place, okay? You said now, big girl. Don't slack, get your life back on track. Don't spill, don't rob, don't jack. Make it not the slipping. You'll do fun with good intentions. Making good decisions. Like it's home like home division. Prevention from nonsense, use wisdom. It's easier said than done. Might as well try this scene. Your life is good enough reason. Your Lord will come near. You choose if you choose, then you lose. Get out my door. No excuse, not just for the phone. Get that better with the work and for that man losing. Pacifying the truth, what's fear the lies? What's the difference? They don't even appreciate that lies. They won't ever have anything cause they don't try. Just whether you pacifying the truth or speak the lies. That's what they wanna have. Sweet nothings in the air. Don't believe in anything, won't stand up and don't defend. They rather live in fear. Stay in strong and shoot this light. Walk in and don't pretend. Take that gun and don't take out. I'm just being extra. I'm still in it. Y'all still in it with me? Yeah. I'm just adding more music to the playlist. You know. Just add this to
If I die tomorrow, you remember me. Can only be myself, I can't pretend to be anyone else. I'm working on stuff, trying to find my identity. When you're on enemies, when you think of me, please, someone up for me before you go to sleep. If I should die before I wake, I pray to the Lord my soul to I wasn't the same, but I spread love in my head. hope that God that I'm like I was once fixed. I hope I'm good and heaven opens up the gates. Oh no, you can't go there. Well, I can't find peace nowhere. This music is my outlet. Can't care less who I offend. So what I made you upset? This is my life, get over it. The older I get, the bolder I get. The man no respect. Wisdom comes with experience, I'm no vet. And with bad decisions, those consequences left no regrets. I'm done forgiving them with no apologies. I'm giving and I'm living for them. They live their lifetime for mine to begin. Breaking away from ignorance, tolerating this for too long. Negativity will drain your strength if you're not strong. Enough to cut the call, no longer be involved. Choose right and prove them wrong. Tempting but don't indulge. Just think of the end result. In the possibilities that seem impossible will surely come the capabilities to move through obstacles. It's in my blood. Never broken, never been a taker. I'm not giving up. If I die tomorrow, you remember me. I can only be myself. I can't pretend to be anyone else. I'm working on stuff, trying to find my identity. When you're on nights, what do you think of me? Please, say one up for me before they go to sleep. If I should die before I prayed to God, my soul dead. I wasn't the same, but I sprung out of my hate. I hope they get that I'm not I was once blessed. I hope I'm good and heaven opens up the gates. So I had to be my own DJ for a while, you know. It's all good. You having a good time? That's what's up. I'm having a good time too. This is awesome. So, that CD that he's handed out is from 2013 and it's really discouraging. But I'm back. This is the return. Listen. Life's a trip now, ain't it? Try not to be anxious and not to complain much. But I'm grown and patient. Man, I'm tired of waiting. This hiatus, I hate it. Lately been questioning me. Like, am I destined for greatness? Wake up. Emerge from hibernating. Shake up. This earth, this world, this nation. No, it's time cause I prayed it. Went through fire and embraced it. My desire is to make it. So this is my invitation. With the streets of Panama, with the phone with the navigation. Thank God. Doesn't feel like best to keep reaching for me. Have my message to land off. Had to kill a friend off. 30 years took all I had and ran off. Just so I managed to stand tall. I'm back like water and ran off. If I went right back, I would still be robbing safe. I took a break and saw her eggs. It broke it down to get it break. When I was on like Eddie did. Cutting niggas off the patient. Lying next, see the delegates. I was sleep, I got to set it in. My plan on the line. I got it out 100 times. Because my time wasn't right. Trying my last one to open up my eyes. But whoever wanted to get it. But they don't want these problems things. Yeah, I said what I said and I'm in it. The greatest thing I ever witnessed. Yeah, I know when I ride, I was with me. Dismiss them, they trust me and strictly forgive them. I promise I do not miss them. Through this moment of silence, get wisdom. I got the strength of an ox. And the heart of a lion and a picture of love. I am taking my time. While you wasting yours trying to collide, no, not I'm on rush. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna